Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day you're viewing this. This is Big Bad Chad once again uh, with another video for everybody. Decided to shove some intros in. Hopefully, people don't get too upset about it. What am I doing today? Well, so with the new exciting influx of YouTube subscribers, all the way up to 74 last time I checked. Which doesn't sound like very many to rich and famous people, but I am neither rich nor am I famous, so I'm happy with it. Thank you all for subscribing. A couple of people have asked for strategy games, so thought I'd dig up some replays, see what I could find, anything good. Today, going back to the Supreme Commander Forged Alliance playgroup, we had a pretty good game a while ago, so I thought I'd bring it out as another free for all. Pretty interesting, and I hope you enjoy watching it. If you don't, complain somewhere, put it in the comments. If you do like it, put it in the comments too. Up and down vote, have those arguments. If you've got a game you'd like me to review, just ask for it. Till then, enjoy robots smashing robots. This one is another 5-way free-for-all between a bunch of players that I'll list off in a moment when I get the list in front of me. There we go. It happened a few weeks ago now. But I'm quite excited to replay it, and hopefully we'll see why. So, I am here in the purple, playing as Cybran, followed by Midge in his customary blue as UEF. Then we have Alex in red, also as UEF today. Mike Measures in his now familiar Aeon in the green. And then we have Lofty in the grey, who is also playing Aeon this game. Lofty's newer to the game than the rest of us. He's got it recently. So we did have an agreement where we weren't going to be dicks. So, at least to begin with. Just later on, when people, I don't know, start flexing and trying to play with the big boys, then the big boys get to play with them. That's the rules. So, nice quick starts from all of us, including Dave. Lofty. So many Daves in my friendship group. Yeah, just spinning out and going out. Now, I have to admit that I had a little bit of practice. I did some research, trying to figure out how to get good at this game, because I wasn't enjoying not being good. I mean, I was enjoying playing, but I wasn't enjoying being good. So we all had a little bit of a look at build orders. We have a nice little group chat going on. We did share most of what we found. I'm sure some of us kept some secrets. I've got a nice position, as does Midge, with Lofty in the middle of us, because Lofty is the newer player, we think we're in nice positions. Lofty is the newer player, is generally going to be potentially the less able player, which means we've got a safer flank. It does, however, mean that we could be hit from nowhere by surprise, which wouldn't be so good now, would it? If Lofty decided to say, now's the time I'm going to come out and rolled over us with 20 experimentals. So we'll see what's going down. Midge expanding out early here along with Alex. Alex going all the way down here to grab that nice juicy piece of reclamation. Very nice. He's doing the same over here. It's contested, and I would say potentially not even his, technically, on both sides. So he's doing a good job of denying that to the enemy. Midge getting some scouts out really early to just find out who's on either side of him. Mike doing a good job here of expanding out and getting those metal extractors out. Building those engineers. Yes, Mike! Building extra engineers. I know he doesn't like to do it, but occasionally we see him go out in a strong way. I'm also expanding, and I'm making a slightly more aggressive play towards this particular encampment, but that's not going to go well, is it, Mr. Cerberus? Now this is... don't know if it's assumed to be a hostile intervention. I think it was, and there were outcries about attacks, as normal in our group. Looking for the first excuse to be able to shoot someone else in the face with a half-decent excuse. Which is Commander, slightly extended, but only 3 minutes, so no one's really got anything. Does build those extractors faster. And just a quick scout here, doing a massive amount of damage before being shot down. Scouts are truly terrible. Yeah, that's about that. Mike getting some land forces out nice and early, bit defensive. Yeah, just getting them to patrol around. None of his signature... oh, he's got an air base. There we go, no anti-air turrets, but an air base, which I think is slightly better. Midge building up some forces, getting a second land factory out. I've got a second land factory almost complete. Alex far and away ahead of us there with 2 complete land factories already functioning. Lofty just building up some tier 1 defensive units. Only 1 engineer. 2 engineers. I built a few more, and you can see he's not expanded out as aggressively as the rest of us. Alex has not either, but he has taken this reclaim, which is really key, because it not only gives you an influx of bonus resources, but it does deny it to your opponent. Mike getting an air web up already, that's very nice, and I've decided no one's going to attack me. No real good reason for that decision. Look at this first exploratory force, Mike's scouts in inverted commas. Let's see what he sees. He is top of the scoreboard by a long way here. So we've seen my scout, and he's just letting that slide. They're just literally trying to find out who's where at the moment. Nice spot there. I don't know if I noticed them. I might have done. I might have made some overt discussion of whether or not he should be doing such aggressive tactics, but you can see I've got forces there. There's that downhill slope, which I've discussed previously on this map in Fallen Victim 2. Doesn't necessarily bode well for point defences built there. I'm just trying to find out what the sight radius of... Nah, they're not going to spot that engineer. It's coming down there. So I've got my little scout going around here. He's been spotted. Just trying to find out who's next to me. Now, the way I was doing this, to explain their apparently weird pathing... God, he managed that gauntlet quite well, didn't he? Mike's got some anti-air now walking around. I like that. What I did was send my scouts to these extraneous pair of metal extractors rather than a main base, because the main base is going to be defended, and I just need to find out who's where. So if by sending my scout here and spotting those mass extractors, I can tag the units. There's a fight going on here. Yep. Mike's little scouting force. I think he's taken the numbers, and he's taken like actual bots, because they're slightly tougher than scouts, and they might be able to raid something. So yeah, here again you can see I'm just tagging Midge's metal extractor, so I know who's where. Here I didn't manage to do it because Dave hasn't expanded, but you know, process of elimination. Somehow my scouts just getting away with life here. That's amazing. It's because I've put the cloak on, which means that they don't get shot, I guess. So yeah, rather than scouting people's bases like Mike did there and risking losing my scouts, I've just found out where positions are. I don't need much more information than that at the moment. I've also spotted that Mike's got a fair number of units. So now I've either got Alex next to me or I've got Dave. That's my current information. And one of those is my resources. Let's not talk about them there. Let's just have a quick flash of the resources round at 7 minutes. Pretty abominable, pretty atrocious. Am I building a Tech 2 thingy? He's doing something that's awfully energy inefficient. No energy, but lots of metal for Alex. Mike, pretty balanced, well done. Just slightly off on energy there for Midge. He recovered it at the end there. You can see, look, he must be building some energy reactors as he goes, and both out for Dave there. I have taken a new approach whereby metal doesn't matter, but that doesn't seem to account for my lack of energy. I think I must have been upgrading him to tier 2. What you'll notice, and I think is not seen it's seen much more often, rather, in competitive play, is aggressive commanders. We're all very protective about them, and we try to keep them safe. Understandably, but once we get a little more confident, maybe we'll get some more aggressive commander upgrades. I'm moving out of my base here with a mixed force. Look at that. It's quite large, got a bit of anti-air. Probably needs a bit more serious anti-air fire to be a threat. There's a mixed force of mech marines and strikers. Ooh, look at those medium tanks. They're so much 4 times tougher than those mech marines. Alex building up a couple of things. He's got tier 2 units already. Gosh, well done, Alex. That's impressive. And the first dock on the map. Nice work. Dave Lofty is expanding out here. Is this the death of my scout? No, they're just going through. Man, that cloak is really nice. There you go. That's how to keep your scouts alive. Just turn that cloak on for a low cost of 5 energy. So, we did warn Lofty that there was going to be some of these defensive positions in the middle. And since most of what we had there was the light assault bots, they don't do much damage, sadly. These walls protecting the defences quite nicely. And now that's leveled up, so it's going to self-repair. You can see how bad these tier 2 tech defense, these tech 2 defences are for the Cyberans. They didn't really take down those Auroras very efficiently. Sure, they've got the range, but it's not quite the same as having the firepower. Now, we can see here from the score that I've leapt into the lead. Not really sure how I've done that. I've got a tier 2 factory. I've got 3 factories that are just constantly churning stuff out. Tier 2 bots now, tier 2 units. That's probably how I'm just building things willy-nilly. Why not, you know? Expand or die. Mike's now got a 4th factory. So he's got 2 land, 2 air, but they're all paused at the moment while his commander upgrades that mass extractor. So he's pausing production in favour of accelerating his resources. Down here we've got 2 land factories, 1 tier 2 and an air factory. We've got some tier 2 builders here. Nice switch out. Oh, he hasn't done it. So what you can do is get a tier 2 engineer to start building a tier 2 building and then leave a tier 1 engineer on it. It does build the building slower but less resource intensively, so it can be slightly more useful in the long run. I've got a dock out. That's nice for me. Tier 2 land factory, a tier 2 air factory, and a tier 1 land and air factory there for Midge. Very nice. Got 2 little armies defensively there, just trying to turtle up as he is wont to do. I've managed to get out of the beginnings of a defensive line. I have to say, I didn't really trust the contours on this map after last time I tried to build defences on it. So I'm in the same position, fortuitously, so I learned some of them. So I've just placed these on what I think is the crest of the hill, or the downward slope. So that should be alright for me. Over here, Dave's still on just the 1 land factory again. Oh no, pardon me, and an air factory. There again, though, it's a sign of a newer player that you don't build so many ones. I know Dinky Pie doesn't like, or didn't like, past tense. He may have changed his tune on it since then, or since I remember this comment being made. He didn't like having more than 1 factory because it meant he focused too widely on production. I think knowing your production limits is the key part. So some interesting facts I learnt here. A land factory, tier 1, usually consumes the resources of 2 tier 1 mass extractors and 1 tier 1 power generator, whereas a air factory consumes the resources of 1 tier 1, and tier 1 air factory consumes the resources of 1 tier 1 mass extractor and 4 tier 1 power generators, whereas the naval factory tier 1 consumes the resources of 2 tier 1 mass extractors and 2 tier 1 power generators. I learnt that in my research. I did share it with the group, but this is the first game where I really instituted it. That's a tier 2 naval factory as well. And all those resource costs are multiplied by about 2.5 when you tech up. No, 2.5? Yeah, 2.5. So, for example, the air factory starts to consume the power of 8 to 10 power generators, tier 1. So you really have to look at expanding out appropriately so you can balance your production. That's obviously modified by this adjacency bonus you can have here. Ooh, nice little radar. Is that called a mango? A magno, right, not a mango. I'm going to call it a mango from now on. Radars and mangoes. Done. So just knowing what you can produce is pretty useful. And what resources you'll need to get before you start building out. Mike here, getting a naval factory as well, but it is only tier 1. Tier 2 air factory, that's an unusual tactic from Mike. 2 tier 2 air factories. But good for him for doing it. Another little firebase here, a little forward radar. Liking that. Mike is gearing up for quite a lot of units though. That is not a small amount of army and defences. Now, unfortunately, Mike's tier 2 engineers coming out here. Where are they going? Ah, they're coming around onto this spar of land? I don't know, they're moving around. Dangerously close to that point defence, which I've built just to defend that dock. That naval factory. Oh, Alex, churning out some submarines. Oh, upgrading that one to tier 2. 2 naval factories, very nice. Now, we're all a bit sceptical about the usefulness of Navy and how to apply it. Well, I think rather we're sceptical of our ability to apply naval power properly. Because we're all fairly inexperienced when it comes to, I guess, professional play. And I talk about it like I know a lot, but I know the theory more than I know anything else. Oh, this doesn't look good for my scout, does it? Is he going to get away? I think he is. So, building the power gens around it. You don't really need to do that so much because taking advantage of the increased metal production at higher tiers for the mass extractors is much better. And that's a mistake I used to make. Because while they cost more power at higher tiers, they you can put that power elsewhere. Whereas the mass storage being next to it, the adjacency bonus that it gives to the mass production of the extractor cannot be replaced anywhere near as efficiently. So it's worth building the mass storage next to mass extractors instead. Simple, just benefits. Like, you can make power, but mass is much harder to come by, so take it where you can get it. I know there are mass generation things and mass fabrication units. We can talk about them later on. But for simple cost effectiveness and low maintenance costs, having the storage next to the mass extractors is the best way to go. It's not worth it until they're tier 2. Because they don't actually give any benefit to... I think you only get one bonus mass if you completely surround a tier 1 mass extractor with mass storage. So it's probably worth upgrading the mass extractor first and then building the storage around it. Fairly quiet thus far. Thought this might have been an attack by me, but it's not. Getting some more units forward there before I do anything. Now I know Mike's there, and Mike is like the next highest person on the scoreboard by about 1,000 points. Points don't always mean stuff. It's usually like a big part of that can be resource generation rather than resource use. But it is a good marker to know who's there. I also know Mike's pretty good at the game, and I would say probably usually better than I am. But I know my flaw, and I know this game I sat down and I said, you know what your flaw is, Chad? You always try to do too many different things. So what we're going to do is cut that down. So as you can see here, I'm building some shields over my base for the first time in a long time, turtling up a little bit with these fire bases, building lots of land units, built them early tier 1, didn't throw them in because Mike and Lofty were my neighbours, and I couldn't really run into Lofty, and by the time I got to Mike he already had a force, so it wouldn't have achieved too much. I'm now switching into naval while maintaining a tier 2 switch with my factories there. No air, still no air. I've got tier 1 air defences, but that's a very vulnerable base there. Mike moving out here to take these resources. Ah, no, maybe he's flanking. So he sent these out. Maybe he knows I've got a radar, and he's sending these out in a flank attack. What he doesn't know, though, is that I still have radar. Where is it? Ha! So I'll see them coming just a little bit. And I can see the explosions on the map where the fighting's going on. That's radar's just hit tier 2, so I can now see them taking that point, which is good for me to know because Mike's doing all the work, and if I can sneak him there... Oh, this was really good, following his army with engineers. Nice. If I can sneak in there and take that point after Mike's expended resources to get it, that's ideal for me. Over here, Alex is just quietly building up. He started building these strips of power generators, which aren't necessarily a bad idea. That's just quite unusual. I don't know. I mean, obviously they're less efficient population-wise later on, but later on they can be replaced. So if you've got a tier 1 engineer, I guess why not? Mike now having to stop his dock producing, whereas mine are... Go ahead, I'm building a... whatever they are. A Salem-class destroyer there. That's quite an ambitious bit of tech and probably going to take the most dangerous unit on the field for a while. So over here, Dave's still on 2 factories, but he's got quite a nice bunch of tier 1. He's building up the hydrocarbon. Yes, got the energy storage around it for the adjacency bonus. That's really nice. It's got a third bonus free power there, which is nothing to sniff at. And you can store it quite nicely. Over here, what's this doing? We're building a dock for Midge finally. 3, 4, 5 factories. Look at that. 2 tier 2 land, 2 tier 2 air, 1 tier 1 land that's going up to tier 2. And he's going to have a 6th factory over. He's got a 6th factory over there. That is production city. Okay, we're moving in now. So I'm sending in my artillery because they've got that extra range. I can use that tier 2 radar to good effect and take out the units. Don't know what they are, but I can remove them. Cyber artillery also EMPs things. And I know I've probably got to take out these defences. I mean, I don't in actuality. But you can see here the range of these is way beyond their sight. So using them to preemptively slap stuff is a really nice trick. From Mike's point of view, he doesn't know what's happening. He's not got that radar up. Like a forward radar position is quite useful, and it's something I've learned. But he knows there's a lot there. And he can probably guess... Well, he can guess it's probably me doing it. A couple of picket point submarines here from Alex. That's not a bad way to set things about. Don't know why Mike just doesn't cancel that production queue. I don't know how much he's... wrong person. Don't know how much he's got queued up. Nothing, really. So we could just cancel it rather than pausing it. But these little scouts, they're submersible, so they're not going to be seen by air units. And unless people have sonar, which I don't think anyone does, I certainly don't. No one else does here. Oh, another naval factory from Midge. Really going ham on that production capability. But not really producing any... Oh, no, I lie. Look at... Ah, he switched into pillars. He's done it. So pillars are pretty useful. Got a mix of pillars and riptides there. They are one of the most efficient mass to HP ratio units you can have in the game, and they're pretty cheap, so you can just churn them out. They pack a bit of a punch, so they're a really nice standard unit to have in your army, especially when you don't have any shield generators. And then you've got these amphibious tanks, which are slightly more expensive mass-wise, but mixing them in there for the extra hit points isn't a terrible idea. You can pull some sneaky manoeuvres, or it might have been a mistake on Midge's behalf. There we go, got my Salem up, got my frigates, even got some torpedo defence. So that's quite a nice little group of nastiness going on there. So after taking these resources, I've got engineers nearby, but they're busy. And I can see that Mike is... only has a couple of units there on the radar, but because this radar covers their flank, I can see in behind myself, which is quite nice. It's also relevant. So I start attacking Mike, who doesn't have any radar, so he has to bring back this attack that otherwise might have been quite scary. And I'm just putting my line forward. I'm letting my artillery do most of the legwork. It's got that greater range, so I'm taking advantage of that radar as well. I can see this coming in behind me, can I? Yep, I don't know what it is, but I can see it's quite a lot, so I just turn the formation round. Again, I'm not a massive fan of the Blazes. They're tier 2, but they're not particularly strong. And because Mike's not using formated movement, they're coming in lines. Now, you've seen my guys moving around in blocks rather than these kind of straggler lines. And that is because I don't want to slow it down. That's not what I want to do. And that's because, I've decided to try moving them around in formated movement rather than just right-clicking where they want to go, because different units have different speeds, so they get there at different times. If you hold down the right mouse button and drag the... I can't demonstrate here, but if you then drag the cursor in the direction you want the formation to face, it very nicely brings you into a little formation. And it does put your more vulnerable and longer ranged units at the back, so you've got your anti-air and your artillery, which usually hangs out at the back. If I slow it down here, what I've also... Oh, you can't see it. But I have put my Mantis bots in one control group with the anti-air and the scouts following behind them. The scouts there for the radar more than anything else, so it's a bit of mobile detection. and then I've put the artillery in a separate control group. So if I want to, I can move them separately, which is a nice little trick. And I do recommend, if you've got vulnerable units that are better against buildings and things, like the artillery, with some combat stuff that can defend it. So I'm hovering here on the outside of Mike's base. He's still not got radar, so he doesn't really know what's going on. He knows there's a web of units, but without that radar coverage, he's effectively blind. He's got good resources, though, so he can respond to it. What he doesn't know is I have boats coming in behind him as well. This is at the 23-minute mark. So it's... I mean, these Tech 1 units are probably destined for death, and he has some Tier 2 defences here, which outrange my Tier 1 artillery. Now, I've also brought these hoplites, which are one of my favourite units in the Cybran Armoury. And they've got a nice long range, they pack a bit of a punch. Oh, we just saw it there. So again, I've formatted my movements, so my Tech 1 bots are at the front, they're kind of providing this defence's web. If they've got things in range, they'll shoot at them, but when they don't, they won't, obviously, and they won't go chasing it. But that's fine, I don't mind having them picked off while my artillery does work from the back. Unfortunately, my artillery is not doing work. I think what I'm doing here is I'm sort of sitting my units down to take out this air web and cause a little bit of a nuisance. So Mike's moved these units in, and I've then shoved in my hoplites from this side, the Tier 2s, and you can really see them raining hell down. Now Mike's done what I did in that game that I recorded ages ago, that I think Mike kind of skipped through the early part where it happened to me, where I did exactly what he has done here. In the base of the basin, in the bowl there, those units are not able to really shoot out and up. Like, they can take pot shots at the right angle, but it's not completely possible. So my hoplites here very much able to siege these units without too much fear of reprisal, although they are getting popped off a little bit there. They are delicate, the hoplites, I will accept that. But as noted previously in other videos, I don't like rhinos. So I've come in here and I've hit his defences quite hard. I'm not making... This is more of a... This is certainly an attack, it's beyond a raid. I'm looking at trying to remove difficult units so that my next attack, which I'm already building up here, it's got stealth generators and tactical mobile missile launchers, it can make a little bit more headway. So I'm just trying to remove these base defences, because I am going to have to remove them despite the less good position. Mike's commander now coming forwards and just settling this debate once and for all that I'm not getting further. So I've taken his army out, I've hit his defences quite hard. He did react by building these Tier 1 defences quickly, the commander working that out, but I also hit him from the back at the same time. Now at this point I'm pretty sure I forgot Salem can go on land, which would have been, I think you can agree, a pretty nice trick to pull here, having that march up from the backside and try to go toe-to-toe with his commander. I'm pretty sure the Salem would have lost. Yeah. Well, maybe not. I've got fewer hit points, but I think I pack more of a punch than an unupgraded commander. So at the moment I'm content to try to move his air cover, which is more of a distraction than anything, because I, of course, have no air factories. In fact, my main power is just the sheer amount of production I'm kicking out. And it's hidden here in these naval factories. So I'm just going to park these here, and they're going to get kills, get veterancy, hopefully. Well, mainly that Salem class destroyer is going to get some veterancy by poking at these air units, which is going to cause Mike a bit of a headache. He's building a forward defensive position here, which is very scary. But again, without radar, you know, he's... Oh, does he have radar though? Points if you can see the radar, because Chad certainly can't. No, maybe he's just spotted them manually. Yeah, if he'd had radar, he would have been able to see this thing. So I'm going to follow up this attack with some redundant stealth generators, because he doesn't have radar, but he might have done. So it's a tactically sound manoeuvre. I've got a Tier 2 cruiser over here from Alex. This picket line's still fairly far forward. Midge now building some... Oh, a sonar, so we can see incoming naval attacks. Although it's not very good at Tier 1. In fact, I have to say the sonar is distinctively less efficient than the... oh, nice. Still no upgrades, though. Distinctly less efficient than radar, tier for tier. Over here, you didn't see it unless you saw it on the map. Maybe rewind the video. There had been something built there. I believe it was a little radar by Lofty. And he's basically been forced to pull back. Now, these are Alex's. I don't know that. And in a moment, you'll start seeing them attacking my ships. And there's not much I can do about it, except hope this Salem lasts long enough to kill those submarines. I won't figure out till it's a little too late that that it is, in fact, Alex with those submarines, not Mike. So I panic slightly and pull out. Now here, Mike attacks with some land units, they're tier 2. But again, there are these blazes that I'm not taken with. If there'd been the... oh, what are they called? Oh, the tanks. Oh, dearie me. Let's just find out, shall we? That's not very good for commentary. There you go, the Obsidians. If there'd been the Obsidians, they would have lasted a lot longer, been able to soak some hits, especially from this bad boy here. But as it is, like, although they're doing a number on my Tech 1 frigates, in fairness, he does lose quite a lot here. For the removal of the nuisance of that anti-air. So 2 Tech 1 frigates lost for a small land-based army. Judge for yourself whether or not that was fair. It has been a distraction though, because Mike still does not have this radar, even though he knows I'm attacking him, or have been attacking him. And I've now removed that turret line with these mobile missile launchers. Again, I'm using the strategy of just kind of setting down my place and using my radar information to my advantage. I also here have some of those much hated and much maligned rhinos, and that's because they're kind of tanky units that can go at the front and soak some hits. There was meant to be some hoplites there, but as earlier you saw, they were sent forwards with the previous attack. So now, do I have tier 3 radar? No. So I've only got like my scouting information from last time and the edge of that. I have sight on Mike's commander, but I decided not to attack it. I'm still looking at softening him up for next time. Now that, I think, with this number of missile launchers is... well, I've got 15 mobile missile launchers. They don't really have a minimum range unless you're standing literally right next to them. So these guys marching forwards isn't a bad idea, but they just don't have the hit points to deal with, to cope with the sheer amount of firepower I've got flooding in, like 15 mobile missile launchers. And because they're auto-targeting, they're targeting my very piddly meat shield. So now I'm going to start softening up this turret line, even as the commander walks towards me. Again, the ridge of the hill protecting me there, and I don't quite stop in front of it enough. That blaze getting quite far in. Oh, I am targeting his commander now. Or I was, but I shift my control orders and it turns into a bit of a raid. Because I think the commander's going to chew through these guys in no time. But they take 7 hits each from the commander, which isn't great for the commander, so he's not really killing them at a very efficient speed. So I definitely could have targeted Mike's commander there and done a little bit more. But I'm now hitting his resources as best I can. No AOE on those mobile missiles, unfortunately. We start hitting just some random targets. I think I even split my stuff out. Now this is the point at which I decide I've made errors, and I'll take my mobile stealth generators away, because they're not going to contribute anything here, but they can be useful. So I'm hitting Mike's resources quite hard, and now I'm starting to lay into his commander with that mobile missile launcher battery. There's only, what, 7 of them left? Yeah. And they're still doing a number on him, so I could have actually taken him out if I'd targeted him when I had the full 14. And unfortunately his commander's auto-targeting here. He's hitting the mobile flak artillery, which is not what he wants. If he was micromanaging this properly, he could have walked up to my mobile missile launchers, or at least one of them, and got within that minimum range. And he starts ripping into them now. He's not got level of veterancy yet, but I think he will off these, which will mean he'll regenerate at a faster speed than the commander already does. And I almost take him out, but I don't have the firepower anymore. So that could have been an assassination if I'd put the effort in. So over here, you can see I've got more Salem-class destroyers, bringing them back in now that I've softened Mike up. And Mike's not feeling great. At the half-hour mark, he's lost out on quite a lot of army. 2 defensive lines have been punctured. His commander's taken a beating. So he's still placing him forward. He's still reclaiming that, which he should do. It's a massive mass donation. During this fight, Midge pointed out that you can in fact see things that are happening on the other side of the map if those things are fights. So you can see like the explosions and things appearing on the map. Now, does anyone else have no real radar from Alex, so he can't see Mike? Midge has no real radar coverage there. By radar coverage, I'm looking at omnisensors, really. Again, a little bit of information there from Dave, but I don't think it's radar coverage, because none of those were moving. So I've moved these guys away, even though I shouldn't have done, because they've got nice anti-air in. I could have moved them forwards and helped them, but I think my plan was to help get some veterancy levels on these 2 bad boys. So that's not a bad plan overall. Oh yes, and now, because I wanted to keep the pressure on Mike, I'm building an artillery line. So artillery fires 50% faster if you completely surround it with power generators. So that artillery is firing 50% faster, but the range, if I can highlight it, doesn't actually go as far as I wanted it to. It goes slightly further than shown, but I think that's because that's a bowl. So this was a tactic to harass Mike. And I don't notice that that's going on. That's not great. Because that submarine's going to have a bit of a field day. And we've got a tier 2 cruiser coming over as well. It's got tactical missile defense on, that's nice. Nothing really too offensive going on over here. We've got some picket lines and a sonar from Alex. I don't think I've got a sonar up there. Radar does detect boats, but it doesn't detect whatchamacallit. It doesn't detect submarines. So Mike's just done a scouting run over me there, and I'm trying to find out why. He's trying to find my commander, I think. There's quite a lot of anti-air over that base now, so I've got some tier 2s going around in a circle. I've got these 2 fire bases, building this one up, because while I'm not attacking Lofty, I don't want him to suddenly roll over and attack me. And again, I'm building up this force here. That engineer's been spotted by the air, but I don't know what it's doing. So this guy's already killed one of my frigates, and he's making short work of the next one. And if they had been with these guys, their torpedo defense and torpedoes could have been used to protect them. But oh well. And I'm seeing an opportunity just to nettle me a little bit. Oh, there we go. I managed to react. Alex has sent 2 more subs over to try to take advantage of the situation. But I don't want any of that. I can't be bothered. I've got other things on my mind, like this tier 2 assault force coming over here. So again, I've got a tier 3 brick in there. Now they're solid 9,000 hit points. They are going to be a thorn in the hide of anything that tries to take them down at this point, because we're not seeing many other tier 3 units like tier 2. I mean, and the bricks pack a little bit of a punch, but just having one in your line, especially at the front, can draw firepower. Finally seeing some obsidians from Mike, but it might be too little too late. So I've moved away from those subs, and I've just let it slide. I'm preparing for a pincer attack on Mike here to try to take him out. 35 minutes in, and I've been constantly harassing him, but Mike's still getting out forces. He's still got this line of tier 1 eruptors, which are good point defences. In that numbers and their rate of fire, if I get within range, they're going to do some damage. They've got a pretty high DPS. Still producing navy. My main weapon here has been out-producing Mike, I think. He's focused on getting this air web out, which is extremely potent, except I've not got any air units, so it's not bothered me at all. And I think I keep stopping and starting because I want to remove them under the impression that they're fighter bombers, but they're not. They're Swift-Wind combat fighters. So if I'd done a little bit of research, I might have figured that out. So because Mike's focused on building them, he's now upgrading to tier 3. Potentially that scout earlier, I know we focused a lot on the Big Bad Chad versus Michael Measures fight, but there's very little going on apart from turtling up and a bit of nervous diplomacy going on over there right now. So here, that brick, like laying in the firepower, getting the kills, making short work of anything it shoots at, and not even being targeted. So Mike's commander is nice and safe in his base at the moment. He's got a fair amount still. He's still got obsidians here, and they're going to be nice because they do out-tank Cybran units quite nicely. Look at this! What a sneaky little engineer Alex has flung in here while Mike's distracted. He knows that Mike and I are talking. We're all in a Discord, so he is strategically taking advantage of the distraction he knows I'm going to be causing Mike. So I've got a third Salem-class destroyer here now, and I think we all know what's going to happen in a moment. Mike's still got his obsidians down here in the bold. He's got a couple of blazes, but he's sending them back to deal with this. That's a very good idea. These blazes are going to get eaten in short order. They're quick to produce. And then Mike just denies me the kill on his commander. He gives up because he doesn't think he's going to be able to fight this off. Which in likelihood he probably couldn't, because you can see these Salems marching up behind him. So he falls on his sword. So we have our first elimination of this game at 37 minutes. Let's have a look at other bases now that this one's freed up. I pull out almost immediately. It takes a little bit of time for the Salem to re-navalize. So let's have a look at other bases. So Dave's commander taking an adventurous trip round here, knowing that Mike's commander has just been killed, so I've got quite a focus down in this corner, perhaps. I mean, that's what you could tell from the map, and from the chat he can confirm that because Mike will have been explaining it. I do now stream for Mike so he can see what I'm doing. This is where Mike finds out about formatted movement. I didn't realise he didn't know about it, but there's only so much I can do. I do tell him how to do it, and he does use it in future games. So he has picked up a trick out of that, and it certainly would have saved him some stuff there. So that was all very action-packed, with Mike on the back foot for a long time, and trying his best and doing well. Like, he keeps producing units, he keeps producing turrets. He doesn't run away. He doesn't roll over and die. Like, he puts the effort into trying to fight it off. But because I'm never under pressure on my other side, what's going on here then? I'm going to have to pause recording for a moment. So, my Supreme Commander just crashed, and I have to restart the replay. I put it on +10 here, so I'm going to try to chat some tactics while we get this lovely animation of everything going on that we've seen already. So yeah, last we saw, Mike had fallen on his sword, decided that he couldn't win, and gave up there. But before that, he was still producing units, he was still building turrets lines, he was reclaiming, he was going for end game. There was a tier 3 factory coming up for his air power. So he was looking at game-ending ways to strike at me while being under all of that land pressure. So he was still looking at viable strategies to fight his way out of that hole. He wasn't having much pressure from Alex, so that he had that freedom to do it. He's got these defences, which I didn't comment on before, which I take out, but they give him, I take out with my Salems later, they give him an air of security on that side. And the fact that Alex doesn't come in as well can give him the confidence that he can focus on me. So he does try to find those game enders to fight his way out of that hole, which is exactly what you should do if you think that you've got the resources or the capability to do so. So well done, Mike, for doing that. And sadly, it didn't pay off. What he might have been doing with the scout that went over the 10 or 15 fighters that flew over my base before he died, he might have been trying to worry me into thinking that he was going to snipe my commander, which is a valid tactic, gets in my head, or attempts to get in my head, without risking too many resources, because those fighters aren't doing anything for him. Like, there's no air on the entire map apart from other anti-air, although we've got some fighter bombers from the UEF, pardon me, in Midge's base at the moment, and I think Alex builds some later in the red. But yeah, so there's no real loss to his force there by doing that scout, and if it worked and put me on the back foot for a bit, made me feel defensive, all the better. The flip side of that coin is I might have panicked and thought I need to do something about Mike double quick, because if there's going to be some strap bombs coming in, I'm going to be worried about it. Maybe not, because I had those shields up with a little bit of overlapping, so could have been quite safe with my commander there, and I did have a thick air blanket or anti-air blanket over my base in the form of the point defense. So maybe I wouldn't have felt pressured. Again, let's slow this down so I can zoom in. So you can see here, Mike's line without the formatted movement is coming in straggles. The blaze being faster go in first, whereas if you do the formatted movement, everything moves at the same speed to try to maintain the formation, which can slow down your faster raiding units, but it's much better for the survivability of your vulnerable units. And even here you can see these guys didn't quite make it up and round, so they've cut in and they get taken out without doing much, although he does pull them back. That's a good response there. But these guys kind of dribble in one at a time into my what is effectively a line. So while the Auroras and the Blaze do outclass my individual units, because they're not taking them on one-on-one, I'm taking advantage of something called Lanchester's Square Law. Now, Lanchester was a gentleman who did some theorising in World War One about the effectiveness of troops in various places. So you have Lanchester's Line War, which is when troops of a similar quality face off against each other, they will eliminate each other at a similar rate. So if you're in like a corridor that only 3 people can fight side by side and everybody's got the same ability, then people are going to be losing people at the same rate. So the larger army in that case, so if I've got 10 dudes, my opponent has 5, and we're fighting in a one at a time corridor, then we'll both lose 5 dudes, but I will win because I have 5 spare dudes. So Lanchester's line law says that the larger army will win. Now Lanchester's square law is harder to relate and has some complicated formulas, but it basically means if you can get all your units attacking at the same time, that's better. And it's by a degree of multiplication rather than a degree of addition. So, example, for 2 units attacking for the same amount of time against 1 unit, they do twice the damage in half the time. Is a simplification of it, but I suggest you look it up. It's pretty interesting. If you want, Spirit of the Law on YouTube uses AoE2 to illustrate these. Great channel anyway, so give the guy a look. We're going to speed this up again now after explaining that, because you can see here Mike's units do better when they can all attack all at the same time. Maybe that's an application of Lanchester's line rule, but hey ho, work it out. Anyway, so that was actually for trench combat, those laws in World War One. So he's trying to basically gauge how many men someone would need to wipe out an enemy position, and you can use it with a variety of things. But the square law does basically dictate. I saw there briefly Lofty trying to take out some of the base defences, which I didn't notice before, some of the positionings here, and he's still got that turret up, so we can't take him down, sadly. But yeah, so Lanchester's laws are pretty interesting if you're into that kind of thing. We can see me taking out this line now with mobile missile launchers, using the knowledge I've gained from my radar, giving me a lot of power there that the base defences have no way of comparing to. Now, which is why I've started to like using artillery positions as fire bases. I mean, I don't do it in this game, but I don't really have the resources, because I'm expending a lot of resources chucking them at Mike. I really hope I'm recording this. This would be so annoying if I'm not. Oh, I am. Oh, hey, I'll keep that in just for entertainment value. So, now this is the not the attack that breaks the camel's back, but the attack that probably should have killed Mike's commander. You can see me moving these guys down in preparation for a larger offensive there as well, keeping them together. So yeah, over on this side, we've still got some arming up, some positioning here. Got shield generator over a little power field being built up. I like that, Alex. You know, I'm a big fan of remote resource fields. And little ones like this. I know it's going to be 5 power generators, 4 power generators, but a little one like that, and then moving on and doing it elsewhere, it's probably a really good idea. I think, I've started making one here, and later on we'll see some others from me, where I don't try to make one large field, I try to make several remote ones. Over here, we've got a tier 3 resource field being in production, away from the base, nice and safe. No shield generators, which is unusual for Midge, but, you know, more power to him. We've got some tier 2 air floating about there as well. I'm keeping an eye on the time. There's the scout attack. That could be the head games trying to find my commander. My commander is a bit vulnerable, and I do bring him back in, so I see that, and this resource field is going down, but it slows down because my commander's not there to help it. Now we can see here that Mike's rebuilt these, which was a really good idea, but the turrets aren't there, and that means that this engineer can slip in and be a bit sneaky with his intentions. So we're almost caught up to where we were before, waiting for that Salem to come around before I begin my final proper assault. Snatching some anti-air there just in case he's got any bombers. The artillery coming in, nice, supporting the forces. It looks really organised and very professional now I watch it back, but I think I was sort of on the edge of my seat the entire time, wondering what Mike was going to do about it. And this thick airfield did worry me, because even though I've got quite a lot of anti-air here, you can see I'm not in a single pass, I'm barely touching the tier 2s. And there's Mike's commander down, so we're going to slow it back here. So now everyone knows Mike's out of the game, and he's going to start watching my stream. Dave has a naval factory here, Lofty, building that up to tier 3. Trying to compare on the naval front, I've stuck with a tier 1 and a tier 2. Just for variety of production, really. I feel that having a mixed level of stuff, and especially with the naval units, where the tier 1s are really nice once they're out. Don't know what their value resource ratio is when they're being produced, but once they're out, they're pretty tough. So having them about is always useful, and it adds numbers to your fleet, which is, as according to Lanchester Square law, useful to have more guns firing at the same time at the same target. Over here, Alex has a similar setup to me, producing subs instead of the cruisers or frigates, which is fair enough, might be a good plan. I think I've started, you can see one sub there, so I have started producing subs. He's got a sonar, which is a really nice idea. I don't know if he has any radar coverage. We'll look at Midge in a second. No radar coverage himself. And Midge doesn't have any radar coverage either. He's got, again, a tier 2 and a tier 1, just producing some units. Focusing now on naval production, he feels pretty secure, apparently, with these massive armies sitting there at the front. They are all, as you can see, what I would call fighting forces. So you've got, we've got tier 3 as well. No wonder he's feeling safe. Very nice. But they're all like assault bots, assault tanks, and anti-air units. So we've got no utility things, no shield generators, nothing like that, and no siege units. On the flip side, we've got Titans, which apparently are bad. That's not me saying it. I don't play UEF, but from what I've seen online, they are bad. But they're there, they're tier 3, they're still going to do some work, and they have shields, which is always relevant. Very nice for raiding forces, so they can do hit and run attacks. And yes, that is a line of not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but 5 fat boys, which are coming along at quite a rate. Alex adopting my approach to metal, where it doesn't really matter. He's got tons of energy, he's got units that are going to be building some mass production. It's not 270 of them, but he's building some to try to compensate for it. Oh, so over here he's spotted something. Maybe that is a radar. He spotted my Salem class, and he's going to go investigate. Don't know why that one's not moving. Very annoyed at myself for that. Do they have radar? Nope. Nope. Well, if you can see the radar, you win a prize. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can choose what I do in my next game. But it wasn't there that I could see. So that long-range firepower is really doing quite a number on my Salem-class destroyer. Like, I think close up, my destroyer would have that cruiser, but I'm not close. Not even slightly. So that is some exceptionally nice firepower. He's actually going to take out that Salem class destroyer. Now, he had this engineer over here already, remember, so he's taking advantage of my victory, which is a nice little tactic. Well done there, Alex. I'm super annoyed about this, because Salem class destroyers are good, and if I hadn't left that there, then I wouldn't have lost it. Long story short. I've got this artillery position, which is alright. It's got some forewarning from there. I've got this fire line as well, which has been built up. That shield generator going to be exceptionally useful, especially once I've upgraded it, in defending against a land-based force, or even an air-based one. So over here, Dave now has a tier 3 factory and is building battleships. You know, when you don't know what's good in a game, why not go for the biggest, baddest unit you can produce? Which is apparently what Dave decided to do, or Lofty decided to do. He's now also got a resource field over here. Let's have a look at his... So he's running out of metal, but that's not going to be a massive problem when you've got this amount of energy. So earlier, well I say earlier, in my other videos, I have said that an arrangement much in the order of this, with tier 2 mass fabricators, is the most efficient. That is the most energy efficient manner, not the most pop cap efficient. So if we look at Alex here, he's not approaching pop cap, so he can make the pop expenditure on this to get more metal at a lower energy rate. He's got tons of energy, so it maybe shouldn't be an issue. It is quicker to build though, and you do get more mass out of it, I think, in the long run, on those individual units. However, with the tier 3 mass fabricators, you can surround them with mass storage, and that ups their mass production. It's still less efficient as a ratio for mass produced to energy cost, but it's more population efficient, and they're certainly more survivable from raids because they actually have hit points, whereas tier 2 mass fabricators, if I can find some, have a joke of a hit point count. 360 is not great. I think they're pretty uniform across the path. So, look, an Apocalypse, an aptly named strategic missile launcher. So now that Mike's been removed, I think Lofty has decided he wants to get involved, and he's taking advantage of our slightly naive "we'll leave you alone." It's slightly naive because this is a game with nuclear missiles. So leaving someone alone until they're ready to fight isn't necessarily the best idea. There's me starting a resource field of my own, but I'm a bit behind on that. I do, however, have some pretty versatile forces. Now, the health field systems still feel redundant because people, as yet, don't have radar. Lofty has a radar, nice. But he cannot, or he has an omnisensor, so you can see these units up here, but he can't see what's going on down here with all of my military units. He can see that, he knows that's building, so he's probably not going to walk into it. But it's ripe for being nuked out of the field, isn't it? But he can't see where my armies are, which is pretty important when I'm trying to defend them, especially from point defences. I did communicate to Dave that he should probably keep his boats in his base. If I had seen him building a battleship, if I'd done any scouting... Where is this coming from? Oh, here. So I'm just reacting to the encroachment of those forces. Is that... No, I haven't got an omnisensor yet either myself, so maybe I shouldn't mock other people so much. But at least I got tier 2 radar. That'll make me feel better. Yeah, so there was some talk of me going this way round to get to Midge, because he is I don't know, next on my hit list. I could have swung round into Alex, but I have to be honest, Alex has been at the top of my hit list several times due to the misfortune of being next to me. So I think I go for Midge here. And partly because I'm more worried about what Midge does after he's been turtling, even though Alex has got more points on the scoreboard. I also know Alex is Navy, whereas I'm not sure about my good friend Midge here. He's actually got fewer naval units, but they have a large number of subs, whereas mine are mostly the Trident class frigates. So that's not going to go well for me there. However, I don't know that at this point. Ah, now Midge has finished his Omnisensor and he's seen that, and I believe he says, no, you should stop, Chad. And I say, make me. So we'll see what happens there. He can also see, though, if we flip to him, that there are some units out here. That's a nice... Omnisensor might have sonar then. Very nice. Where is it? Points if you can spot the radar. Make that a minigame. Where is it? He's got strategic missile defense, nicely planned, thinking ahead. I still can't see the radar. Ah, but now Alex is attacking him from that side, and he can see that Alex has some naval units. So he knows that's going to go badly for him. This is my attempt to take these out so I can take these over finally. I have actually already taken out the thing I... No, I haven't. Have I? No, I have. And I don't know that. But I'm just heating the lip of that with my mobile missile launchers, so it's a bit of a problem for me. That's a fighter bomber. It's annoying, turning this into a bit of a fire base, just to dissuade Alex more than anything, if I'm trying to encroach upon it. If you can take away those opportunistic moments of being able to, like, so here, this is undefended as yet, and plans to remain undefended, so a single engineer could just take it all over, which would be pretty bad. Whereas even one tier 1 turret can stop that happening. So now Midge is responding to my challenge of make me. This is a nice little trick because Midge can't see my submarines with the Omnisensor because I'm outside of its sonar detection range. So that's something useful to know, that you can disguise your fleet numbers. You can you can travel in single file like sand people. We're much closer to Midge's dock. I'm doing something else at the moment. God knows what. Upgrading that to tier 3, I imagine. And generally slowing down my offense. On this side, though, I start... Hopefully I pay attention to this loss. Now, Valiants are apparently very good. And arguably better than Salem's, according to stuff I've seen online. And they have more hit points. And they might fire a little bit faster. So he sails in here. The big downside for me is that I do not have submarines. So I start focusing on his tier 2 cruisers, but like you can already see my numbers have been slashed powerfully. So all I can do is try to take out the destroyers rather with mine. And I don't think I even managed that. I do. I managed to take them out. But I don't get any of these subs. There's still one tier 2 left. And because of my fleet composition, I very much lose out there. Now this battleship's coming in, and that will level anything that's sailing upon the waves. Unfortunately for Lofty, most of this is now sailing underneath the waves, and the Omen class has absolutely no defense against that. So we'll see what happens. I've now moved this round to try to remove more of these things. I shouldn't do, because those defences can be used to bolster my own ones. One Fat Boy has been completed here. First experimental on board. Now that's a big deal. While on its own it's probably a bit vulnerable, especially with the amount of fighter bombery and stuff going on here. With a little bit of tier 3 fighter support and maybe some tier 2 flak launchers, mobile flak launchers, that could go a long way. We can see here the Omen class, unfortunately, completely helpless. Loses nearly half its hit points before Lofty turns it around. But turns it around he does. Will it get out of there? I think definitely finished off that Valiant. So well done there. But somewhat gamely, in the spirit of fair play and sportsmanship, Midge pulls most of his subs back. But for some reason, these ones don't come with, so they continue to chase this thing down. It's going to take them a year and a day to kill it at 75 damage a time with those. No, it's more like 100 damage a time, but with those torpedoes. But they're not. There we go. Maybe they're not part of the same control group, but they would kill it. They would eventually kill that battleship. That is now pretty battered and needs to be repaired if it's going to be properly functional. So this is nice from Alex, just because we've seen their long range before. We can see it again now. Covering those mass extractors from the shoreline. Very well done. I'm not sure the Cybran cruisers do the same thing, but they might. So we can see here my mobile missile launchers having a bit of a field day. Really enjoying themselves, destroying some of these neutral defences in the middle. I don't think I want to do that because I'm not planning to go out and grab them, even though I should. Yeah, there you can see the cruiser now firing on my engineers. I think I managed to capture his engineer, but then it dies to this cruiser bombardment. Man, that's really nice. That's really nice. So we're going to see a sequence here where I'm struggling a little bit because I need to get through to Midge to do something about him, even though Alex is far and away ahead of Midge on the leaderboard now, as is Lofty. Mostly I believe that's because he's finished his strategic missile launcher and has this massive resource field around it to support it. There we go, we've got another remote resource field being built separately, very nicely done there. So I don't capture the engineer, but I start capturing these. Unfortunately, they're just going to get taken out by this cruiser, which I can't do anything about. I'm rebuilding my fleet over here a little desperately, because if this had come around, that would have been my naval power gone. I don't have any torpedo launchers, nothing along those lines. Something I've learned I need to change. Building a second battleship here from Dave, from Lofty. That's an extremely good amount of firepower. Now, can we spot? We've got a strategic missile defense there. Look at that. Very well planned. If he can nuke people and they can't nuke him, all the better. But so he does have an Omni sensor. I'm just trying to find it. Spot, there it is. So this is the anti-stealth range of the Omni sensor, and you can see.
Strategic launch detected.
So he has sent that nuke off somewhere. I think we all shit our pants slightly. Well, I certainly shit my pants because I didn't know he had it, and I haven't got anything to deal with it. If he'd sent it to me, that would have been a great big hole in my world. So instead he nukes here, but thanks to Midge's planning, he has a strategic missile defense and nothing bad happens. He doesn't know what's happening over here, but now this is moved in. And there's a lot of tier 3. This is horrifically large amounts of tier 3 artillery. I don't know what that little thing running around is. It's just a scout, lol. And it's about to get absolute... No, good dodging. So these units stop, and that's probably a bad thing for them. I've got some tier 3 artillery in there as well. Nice. Very much liking that. Losing those as predicted. This fat boy coming out here on its way to send a message. So I'm trying to march peacefully past Lofty here, but that's not going to fly because his point defense is now an artillery line. And unfortunately, because I'm moving in formated movement, I'm not fast enough to outpace the line. So I'm sending that in to try to deal with Midge. Whereas on the other side, this is coming in for me, which is probably going to be bad. I think I tried to tell Dave to turn off his artillery. He might pretend that he does, but he does not. And then I noticed this shit happening, and like, that's that entire fire base down. And I have very little on that side to deal with it. Well, I've got some loyalists, which aren't bad. Got some artillery, but no bricks to really soak like a volley of this terrifying amount of firepower. I have no air power as well, which is a fat boy's normal weakness. So I'm in a very dicey situation there, and I've got that being built up. And I also know that I have to suddenly start building a strategic missile defense. At least one, if not two. So Alex is really threatening me there, and my position is vulnerable. This fat boy on its own could do a good amount of damage to my base, especially because he now has Omni sensors. He's got a radar, and he can detect what this needs to see to shoot. So I'm feeling quite threatened by that. I probably have enough to take out a single unsupported fat boy, and this is a single unsupported fat boy. There is, however, another fat boy here, and if they roll up together, Alex could well roll over my base. I'm still trying to balance my resources. I'm not far off it, but I think it could be a difficult game to play while I'm trying to produce strategic missile defense and fight off a fat boy. Now, I will reveal here that Alex said that he's not going to send it in to fight me. He just was opposed to this particular position and didn't agree with that, so I had to remove it from my from my ownership, which I accept. There's nothing I can do about it at this point. But this is the weakness of not having any air at all. I do not have the options to reach over and deal with that fat boy. It says anti-air on it, but it's not particularly strong. Like 20 or 25 tier 2 fighter bombers could have taken that out. Probably only 10 or 15 really needed to do it convincingly. Now, over here, I finally get to Midge's base with a much reduced force, but there are some bricks here. This is where my bricks have gone. They start getting fired upon quite violently. And I just send my deceivers back because it's not worth it. My dudes are on don't fire mode initially because I didn't want to attack Dave's stuff as a message of goodwill. Fat lot of good that did, since he bombarded me the entire time. Yeah, so that what was quite a scary and effective tactical force. And I went around this way specifically not to hit Dave's holdings here. So after that, I decide, you know what, chivalry is dead. Well, it's not dead. Chivalry actually is a code of how to fight people and unhorse them. And so I decide maybe not that chivalry is dead, but that I need to take up more of the code of chivalry than caring for the less fortunate. Ho hey. So I now have that strategic missile defense up. I think I'm building another one in the middle of my base. No, but I desperately want one. For what I hope are obvious reasons, because while this is my commander, and this is my resource field, and this is my resource field, this is my production, and it's very much the heart of my power for this game. So not having that would hit me greatly. We've got some torpedo launchers going from Lofty to stop any naval offense here. Lots of subs, not so much above ground stuff here from Midge, but we've got an experimental aircraft carrier coming in, which is pretty nice. I like that. A nice choice of experimental unit to throw out. It's all very quiet as well. Like the entire time, Midge and Alex haven't been threatening each other. And at any point, if this had rolled into Alex's base, it would have rolled over Alex's base. As it is, he's got one fat boy in his base, unfortunately sitting just at the lip of the basin, which is the worst place to put your point defences. Further back, and they get a better angle of fire to hit things coming in on the top, and they're further down. He does have turrets, hopefully near enough the top that it doesn't make a difference. But that really needs to be sitting like out here, so it can take full advantage of this field. And he can see this relocating. That is a lot of units. That is ripe for being nuked. But Alex doesn't have a nuke. The only person with nukes is Dave. Does he have nukes, plural? No, he fired that one off as soon as he got it. So I've rebuilt my naval forces. We're seeing more submarines now to compensate for the fact that I had none before. But I'm keeping up a variety of units. So I've still got the Salem. I've still got some Tridents. So keeping my options clear there in case of some kind of anti-air attack. Lofty has now got 2 battleships. This one's still not repaired. And a third one nearly finished. That's going to be quite a terrifying fleet for anyone who wants to have things on top of the water. As it is, though, the amount of submarines that Midge has, and even I have, is going to be quite good. Now, on the understanding that Dave's not going to attack me, which is a really bad understanding in retrospect, I've gone this way to try to do something about Alex quietly after he took out my resource field, and he can see that. He knows I'm on my way. Although now the Cybran do have a counterintelligence boat, and I'm quickly coming to love stealth and the tricks you can pull with it. Oh, there we go, a cruiser. Very nice. Is it as nice as these things? It is. It's nicer. Maybe my cruisers are better. Ah, and I've got a Barracuda. The nice submarine hunter. Has personal stealth. Exceptionally nice. Very nice. Very nice, these Siren naval units. I might have to look into them some more. But yes, that tier 2 sub-killer is going to be exceptionally useful for protecting my fleet and taking out tier 1 subs, which are, frankly, fragile as fuck. So this guy is going about... Oh, hell, he's now repairing that tier 3 battleship. So this is really bad. I know that he's got a fat boy. And I've got some loyalists. I've got a brick. I've got a fair enough army. I reckon I can... okay, fine. Maybe I can take on a fat boy. But not, like, if it gets here, it's going to be eating a lot of very valuable stuff. And I don't want that really to happen. So maybe I shouldn't be annoying Alex. But annoy Alex I do. Maybe as some reparation for him taking out my resource field here. Maybe not. Who knows? I think that's tactically what I would have been thinking. And I make short work of his navy, because while these are really nice for siege, they're not great close-up. And the Salem-class destroyers, they're really doing work. I've got a lot of subs, and I've even got the Barracuda as well, which takes a beating, because it's still fragile compared with the actual ships. It's got fewer hit points than a tier 1 frigate, but it does survive, and it does kick a lot of butt. Now, what I also know is that this ball of units... Do I know this? This ball of units is standing here, ready to go in. And if I make Alex distracted or look a little bit weak, then maybe Midge will take advantage of that. Over here, I'm rebuilding my fleet as well. I really want to try out those cruisers now. Oh, and we've got a bit of offense here from Midge. What is that that's firing? Is that a tier 3 artillery station? Tactical missile launcher is what it is. Look at that, nice. So, the tactical missile launcher requires a tactical missile defense. It's a fairly easy thing to kick up, and it doesn't cost many resources to fuel either. But Midge knows that Alex is slightly distracted, so is firing that off. He's waited for it to be at full capacity as well before he fires it, so he can lay out some firepower to try to hit anything that comes up to answer it. This is terrifying. This is just like world-ending. That should just be like formated movement over something before it gets nuked or tactical missiled, because he has no tactical missile defense by the looks of things. What's the range of a tactical missile launcher, I hear you ask? Not the same as a strategic missile, but still significantly far. It doesn't hit like base start to base start, but if he built it out here, that could threaten all of Alex's base quite nicely. Yeah, if he built it just a little bit lower, he could be threatening everything up to here, and this is clearly a resource field, let's be real. So that's possibly something he wants to look at. So some scouts go over, some tier 3 things. And he sees the fat boy. Ah, some tier 3 fighting going on. And we've got a fat boy down here. This is unfortunate for Alex, because he's brought that round to be a turret to defend against my fleet. If it had been in his base, he could have rolled it up, and it could have, as we can see here, it's proper firepower going on. So much so that my replay is lagging. So we're going to zoom it out slightly. The sheer amount of stuff that's going on. Like that fat boy laying out a swath of destruction, or a swathe of destruction, as it levels into units. But there's just so many. That's a sheer wall. That is a thick blue line of death coming towards Alex's base. But that fat boy's got the range. It can taunt them for a little bit, and it's pulling out. We've got heavy point defense there, just in case Alex tries anything fruity. But he's trying to tactical missile the fat boy as it moves around, and that's going to be difficult. So he has to pull back. Both of them taking more casualties than they would have liked. Alex's land force pretty beaten up, but at the same time, Midge finding out that he's not quite, or he doesn't feel ready. Yeah, look at this. That's asserting dominance, isn't it? he's not quite ready, or he doesn't feel confident enough to go and take on a Fat Boy, which is interesting. But at the same time, Alex has also brought these round. He's managed to take out that vulnerable tactical missile defense, tactical missile launcher rather, and now immediately his cruisers are off. Because I think, can he see that naval force coming towards him? He can see some navy coming towards him. He doesn't know what it is, but he can see it. And he doesn't like the idea of losing these 4 cruisers, because that's a lot of firepower to siege a land fortification with. Very nice. Oh, he's got his own Atlantis here. Very nice. Got an Atlantis there. Gosh, this could be an exciting battle. So the first half of this game was the first third of this game was dominated by mine and Michael's conflict. But now, after a little bit of nosing attacks, I've taken a back seat, and it's really Alex and Midge who are coming out as the movers and shakers in this mid game. And now Alex can see that there are a lot of boats there. He can see them all on radar. He doesn't know what they are yet, but he's got his Atlantis. Oh, I've clicked Mike. R.I.P. He's got a shield boat as well, which is really nice to deal with submarines, because it just means that they're what they call their torpedoes just kind of do absolutely nothing. But Alex has this defensive Atlantis, whereas Midge's Atlantis is a bit further away, so it's not going to get involved in the fight as quick as might be needed. And already you can see that it is, pardon the pun, making waves. Although these shield boats, very nice addition here. They are lowering that Atlantis' firepower rate. But with 40,000 hit points, it's going to take these submarines a lot of work to deal with that Atlantis. Even though it's only taking them out one by one. Like, they've done 3,000. They've now done 10% of its hit points. So that's going down quite quick, but they have lost more than 10% of their own numbers. And as they lose units, again, according to that Lanchester's law, as they lose units, they're going to have less of an impact. At the same time, Alex has taken the aggressive stance here. He's taken the fight to Midge by sieging this massive army that he's got. And that there is Midge, right there, by this army. He's shielded, he looks defended, he looks like he can look after himself, but he really isn't up to it, because that's a Fat Boy. It's not small. It's got one layer of experience, and now he's taking hits on a lot of this. But you can see all of these tier 3s. He's been building the Percivals, which what you switch to in UEF apparently once you go past the pillars. But he's still got these Riptides. He's still got these pillars. They're chunky. Not chunky enough, but that commander's still there. Does Alex know? He does. Is this in range? Not quite. He's rolling it backwards to try to protect it now. Doing that feint forwards, that feint and retreat. Distracting, like, Midge's firepower with a lot of his dudes there unnecessarily. I think he was trying to sneak them past. Oh, and now, so you can see that the Atlantises have taken similar-ish levels of beatings, but that shield boat is protecting. Look how little the torpedoes do to that shield. Is now protecting the shield boat. Very good micro there on that side, and he's moving this army forwards as well to respond to the threat. And this Atlantis here will go down. He's broken through the shield, but it's too little too late. And he takes this Atlantis down to about half-life before he's looking in a bad way. But now this second Fat Boy has joined the fight on this side. This shield not down yet. It's got 3 levels of experience. That one's got 1. They're going to be self-repairing. It's going to be a difficult fight. And we've got a mobile missile launcher there. We've got another Fat Boy that's about to be finished. We've got a 4th one. This could be moved round. That doesn't need to be there. And I can hear in our Discord chat that stuff is going on. Like, shit is going down. It's hitting the fan. So this is my time, because on my radar, I can see that Midge is making the moves into Alex's base, which means Midge is going to be the one on the offense, but he's going to be overstretched. He's got lots flying around his base, but I've got a lot of anti-air here. I've got a lot of I have some anti-air. Yeah, I have a fair amount of anti-air. I've got a lot of submarines as well, so I'm feeling more confident about making moves. I've also got my own experimental, and it's not a small one. It's not the blooming spider, is it? Well, it's a different spider. That is the megalith, the big spider. Oh, we missed it there, and I'm very sorry that we missed the fat boy going down. Was that stupidly? It wasn't it was the new one. He brought it in as a distraction, Carnifex. But Midge has responded with the air here, and this one is just outside the base. Shield protecting it quite well though from those gunships. And you can see now with two fat boys, well, a third fat boy. This is still not moved though. Not sure what it could do, but I think Alex is slightly panicked here. Doesn't really know what to do with his commander. He's desperately trying to pull that out as these get into the base. Fat Boy's auto-targeting. More air coming in, but it's all out of fuel. It's all out of fuel, and that's not going to be good for gunships at all. So that massive army that Midge had, like hundreds of units, has been cut down to 20. And his commander is running out here. Look at him. He's going. And it looks like, despite the fact that Midge's base is pretty much destroyed. Sorry, no, not Midge's. Alex's base is pretty much destroyed. And you can see that Midge's force is pretty beaten up as well. All of these anemic fighters. There's no anti-air now supporting it. They're struggling, but they are going to take down that shield. And they're going to start beating on that fat boy. Even with 4 levels of experience on it, it's not going to be able to take out much more. And he's got a support ACU here. On the map, that looks exactly the same. So Alex was really bringing out the end gamers there. He had so many fat boys. So many fat boys. So many... well, just units. He was bringing it out. He had the experimental in the water as well, but he didn't have that land capacity that Midge did. A couple of the tier 3 point defenses might have really helped. Some shield generators to hide the fat boys under could have been really good. This guy leading them away because of Midge's radar. That's a commander, and that's a commander. So he has to split his attention, and he takes a gambit on this one. And the hill's defending him. How ironic. He also doesn't know that there's a fat boy in the water there. So if Alex can get in the water, he can relocate over here fairly safely. But over here on this side, I'm now attacking Lofty, which is somewhat dicey since... Oh no, there is no extra nuke. I repeat, there is no extra nuke. And Lofty is running out of energy, which is something you never want to do. Like, energy is the resource you can generate. There's no extra nuke there that I can see. No, 0 out of 5. But I have no tier 3 naval units, so my guys are being slammed hard by those omens. If we can see another fire, yeah, 2,000 a hit, and that's, yeah, being picked off. But the sheer weight of firepower is paying off here. I'm managing to take out one battleship. I focused on the one that was weak. I'm now taking out the next one, and then I should be able to get the third. But that is just distraction, because that's not going to win unless I march the Salem's in, which could work. What I'm doing here is I'm attacking with my ground forces. So I have loyalists, I believe I have bricks, and I have the megaliths supporting it all. There is a lot of siege here. There's no anti-air, and that's not so much a problem because using my Tech 3 radar, I know there's not much air power, so my megalith is pretty safe. But with his docks destroyed, I believe Lofty gets oh no, he doesn't. I thought he would get an influx of energy. His docks are not quite yet destroyed. But you can see that my megalith is just marching over everything in its way. My tier 3 units are marching forwards. There's loyalists. Not as tanky as some of the tier 3 stuff that you can see down here, maybe. Look at that Percival, 10,000 hit points. No wonder they're called good.
Strategic launch detected.
But he manages to rush out this nuke. He manages to get it out. That's phenomenal that he manages that. And he uses it appropriately and defensively, but he can't see where it's meant to be going. So he just nukes where he thinks it needs to be. How accurate is he? Pretty stonking accurate. Look at that. And all of my ground units around that megalith are taken out. Not the megalith though. That continues marching on, and all of my artillery are alive. My navy is also alive, and I'm marching a Salem up this way as well. This is a no mercy attack. I'm looking just to take Lofty out of the fight. And it's not going to take too much longer. He's got no more ground defences. He does not have another nuke. I don't know that, but I can still be worried. Over here, I'm building another megalith. I've got another one being built as well. That one's not being built. That's annoying. I could have had a second megalith finished, but I do not. My artillery is really slamming in here. Like, that wall of artillery is going to level anything that it fires at, really. The megalith doing a respectable amount of damage as well, but there's not much that's left here. We've got a rather desperate last stand. I think Lofty, as an inexperienced player here, he's not moving his commander. He's not trying to respond to it in any way as I'm hunting him down. And whereas Mike was still building things, he was reclaiming, he was engaging with his commander. And this is a rougher situation than Mike was in, because Mike did not have a megalith in his base. So I appreciate that. But he's trying to finish this tier 3 artillery. Look at this, all of the game-ending super weapons. But it's not going to be good enough with that volley of artillery fire. So he has a plan, he has an out, but it's still 3,000 short. He's running out of resources. He's being pounded by firepower that he cannot contest, and he goes down. So a second commander eliminated by myself, and now it's just myself and Midge. Realistically, I mean, yes, Alex is still out here, but he has been found by the Atlantis. So the support ACU has been... Oh! Look at that. So would he take that out as well for points? No, he's not going to get it. But it might explode, and that might hurt the Atlantis a bit, which will be really useful for me. It's repairing, I don't know. But now I've still got one... Yeah, so it does explode, but nowhere near the Atlantis, so it gets away. Though no level up, because Commander's still only count as 1. Now you can see I've stretched out here where Midge didn't have the opportunity to do so, because he was still sandwiched between 2 players. I've also got 3 experimentals. 2 experimentals with army to support them. A little bit of anti-air now. Is it going to be enough to deal with all of this? Who knows? We'll find out. I have an anti-nuke device. There, I do not have one in my main base, which seems like a flaw, but, maybe I'm confident of my own things. We're pausing it here while we help Alex tune into my stream. We've got a bit of a sportsman-like approach where there's no stream sniping. Interestingly, while the game is paused, things are still moving, which is unusual and unexpected. But I think it just means that players can't do things. That doesn't seem right, though.
Strategic launch detected.
So we do have a nuke coming out. Nice work there. Is that called a Stonager? What a terrible pun. A Stonager. Where's that nuke going, do we think? Alright, here's my second nuke defense. It's not up, it's not running. I think that is going to get hit. Judging by the trajectory, that looks accurate. Does Midge know about it? Yes, he does. Yeah, that's going to get hit. That's a resource field down the drain. Sad times that I did not get that anti-nuke defense up. But it's missed my army. It's missed all of my... There is the third experimental. I've still got pretty okay energy, so I can still function. My production lines are not hit. My navy's pretty safe up here. And I'm still producing tier 3 units. I've got the stealth generators, because they are relevant now. I've got the artillery, I've got loyalists, I've got anti-air. I'm going to have bricks as well in there, just to make things a little harder to take out. But this Atlantis is sneaking around, and all of my naval forces, like Midge's, it's pretty certain, if I can find his Tech 3 radar, I found it earlier. Where are you? Man, no, I didn't find it earlier, did I? There it is. So... Whoa, he doesn't know that I've got no navy. This is a bit of a risk. But he's taking it, because he can see this coming round, and he's sending his navy forwards. But if we compare the navies now, this hasn't really, I was going to say it hasn't really moved forward from tier 1, and looking at this, it has not. It's just a bunch of submarines. But there are 3 battleships here, and they're not small, 51,000 hit points. So over here I have my own battleship. How many do I have? 1. But I've got a lot of tier 2. I've got a lot of subs. You can't really see everything that's going on there because of the counterintelligence boat. So we'll just have to see how that fight goes. I think it's a fight I'm going to lose due to the sheer number of these tier 1 submarines, which is sad. And maybe you only need tier 1 submarines with the battleships when you know your opponent has no air. But what Midge doesn't see is this wad of units here. Now, looking at my screen, I can see his line. He can't see this attack coming in because I have got 7 stealth generators. I do have a ratio for my units to know how many stealth generators I need to hide a ball there. It's quite a high proportion. So if you take into account that 7 of them are stealth generators, it's probably a ratio of 1 to 4, 1 to 5. And I think 1 to 4 is much safer than 1 to 5. So here we can see that this fight's going to go down. I'm going to zoom in so we can see this going on. Bit boring with the subs initially, but the boats are going to move in here. These subs are very delicate though, so their firepower is going to be much reduced very quickly. I'm reforming. I've got more stuff coming in as we speak, but it's all tier 1. It's miles away, or it doesn't have torpedoes. So those summits leveling in firepower now. My battleships having torpedoes is really nice actually, but I'm going to have to focus. I should be focusing on removing these submarines, because the sooner they're removed, the sooner I can play on a level playing field, as it were. And at the moment I'm on auto fire, so it looks like that's what I'm doing, but then you can see a lot of firepower starts being leveled towards these battleships. Although those tier 1 subs are gone, like the sub hunters are exceptionally good at killing them. I think it only takes 1 or 2 volleys, and I've got 3, 4 sub hunters in the middle. So those submarines are now gone. These have no torpedoes of their own, so they're going to suffer very much in the same way that we saw the Omen class earlier suffering. Can we get a fire? Can we get a broadside? There we go. Look at that. Well, it wasn't as exciting as I hoped. Rather slow rate of fire. Oh, that was nice. So I've only got the 1 battleship, which doesn't appear to be firing. Oh yeah, you can see it coming in. Pardon me. There you go. There are the lasers coming in. Torpedoes really doing a number there. And that battleship, despite the fact he's got 3 of his battleships, he's going to lose 1 before I lose mine due to the sheer number of torpedoes. So that one is down. And then we've got the Siren class cruisers that I wanted to try out. They're laying in here. This battleship is going to go down, but I think it's slightly redundant at this point because these battleships are going to go down as well. Look at the rate they're losing hit points. And that's going to sink down to Davy Jones' locker, and they're one-shotting my cruisers now. That is a phenomenal amount of firepower. I think I might have shift-clicked these as well. No, I have not. So what I sometimes do is shift-click attack orders, which can be very useful in removing targets of interest. So you can see here that absolutely nothing can be done to stop this going down. So it's going to be a terrific loss to this navy. I think this sub now might clear up the rest of my navy. Yeah, so Midge is sending in some stuff and I'm focusing on these, and that's not what I should be doing because they don't present a threat to me. If I can remove these... Oh, I do change my target briefly there. Maybe I don't see the other sub. I don't know. But I do remove it. So I should be removing those subs before I target that. But back home, bad news bears, the experimental aircraft carrier is now in my base. I've got a battleship. It's got torpedoes, but I don't think it's up to... It's got more hit points, but I don't think its torpedoes are up to killing that, or maybe I don't know it's there. That's unarmed. Has a torpedo defense, though, which might help a little bit. I do, however... I do not have a handy megalith. This one is nearing construction, so that's probably going to go over there. But at the same time, as all of this is going on, gosh, so much action. Look at that, taking hits. No battleship though, so all of my ground base movements going up. I'm going to have to see if I can cut the video here, actually, because we've missed something that Midge will want on camera with this ground offense, and I'm sorry. So I'll see if I can snap that in for us. He's got a shield generator, it's going up, but again, I've got this line of artillery that's just going to slam into these. I've got 2 megaliths this time, not messing around, not fucking about with this. And I'm here to kick ass and take names, and it looks like Midge is all out of names. However, I can't see his commander. Can you? Oh, what's this? He's run off. I'm seeing the 2 megaliths on the side of his base, and what he actually had done is run a commander slap bang into my attacking line. I thought it was his commander and he was trying to take some of these out with a nuke as a kind of a spy action. But what actually happened was the support commander blew up and it didn't do anywhere near as much damage as an exploding commander. We saw a comparable explosion there when Alex's support commander went up after... pardon me, after his commander got destroyed and the circle of destruction was much lower. There is the strategic missile defense doing nothing here. The strategic missile launcher going down before it can send another nuke out. And here, he's scouting about, he's trying to find my commander. Don't know how he hasn't spotted him yet. Probably because I have a stealth field generator. Well done me. I can see this, but it's a C unit, so I don't immediately clock that it might be a transport. Over here I've sent my battleship to try to face this down, but its torpedoes are just not up for getting through that. Like, it's a joke. It's not even an actual fight, really. So I'm sending a megalith around to deal with it. I've also got a sub-hunter, but it's going to need some support. Over here I've lost all of my submarines, but it doesn't really matter. This base has been taken apart. We're about to see some fantastic explosions here. Is it a chain? Not quite. Oh, close though, close. So I've run out of quick ground units that can really deal with that. I had another army on the way in case that didn't work, because Midge has been having a fudge ton of stuff. So here he's scouting now, and I don't know what for, because he's got nothing here, there's nothing down there, like there's nothing on the map that's not really mine. I don't know what he's scouting for, but he has found my commander. I still have no SAM sites, I haven't needed them this game, but I should have put some down to augment my air defense. So he now knows where my air defense is. This battleship managed to survive, which is a piece of good fortune. Send in the Barracuda, trying to level in some more firepower into that thing. It's not got any torpedo defense, but it's just so tanky. And it's got so many torpedoes, it is actually really terrifying. And I'm not able to deal with that. Still producing subs over here, he's not got much other choice. I start to split up my my megabots. They're going all over the map. I've got 5 on the map at the moment. I've got another one being produced here. It's crazy. My economy and my production line in this game was on point. He's going to take that out, but that's not actually the threat. I've got this battleship, and I've got this sub-killer here. It's just on auto fire at the moment, so that is going to go down. He's bringing his command around, so he's tested my air defense. He knows where it's weak, and he's just trying to desperately come up with a plan. I don't know what he's doing. It's really annoying for me. And what I should be doing is building radar stations. So I should have built one well, I didn't really need to, I suppose, because I've got this thing up. But again, this looks like a naval unit to me, so I don't know what he's doing. Oh no, it now looks like an air unit. Oh, he's killed that Barracuda, so this might live. Oh my god, those torpedoes are a joke from my battleship. And in return, his are not. So look at this, he's doing the suicide play, the Rambo. And now we're going to slow it right down. Oh, I can't select as commander, that's going to be a problem. I've got no anti-air defense on this side of my base. I've got very little anti-air defense on this side of my base, but it doesn't matter. We're going to slow this right down. We're going to look at it from Midge's point of view. We're going to look at it from Midge's point of view. We're going to look at it from Midge's point of... Thank you. Has he got any combat upgrades in his commander? He's got a personal shield generator, which is really quite nice. He's got nothing there. He's not got the gun upgrade. So he's not... There's no gun upgrade. That's the gun upgrade. And so he's being shot now by a megalith.
Commander under attack.
He doesn't know quite where my commander is. I mean, I'm going to point out that on the flip side... Oh, I know where his commander is, but he doesn't know where mine is. I've not got any combat upgrades either. It's not something I've toyed around with just yet. I do want to look into it more, but I've not got confident in my play enough. So here, Midge is yelling at me down the microphone to face him like a man. I don't know if I do. Where am I? What am I doing? Nothing, it appears. What a shame. So we're going to speed this up a bit. Hopefully not too fast. Oh, we're going to slow it down again because he doesn't get around. I don't answer his call. I'm not the hero that the Cyberans deserve or need. And we've got just a pretty vicious attempt at a brave last stand. And he's been gunned down as he walks. He's going to get some damage out when he... Oh, I thought that had missed then. But he is gone. And that is the game over. After that land rush earlier on, Midge did not feel that he could really come back from it, and I completely understand. I absolutely annihilated his base. So rather than playing like a cockroach and extending this hour-and-a-half game longer than it needed to be, he decides to try to take me down in a heroic one-on-one, which I don't answer and flagrantly ignore. I hope you can forgive me. So there you have it. Another Supreme Commander replay. I didn't kill this in the end. 650 hit points. What a joke. Another Supreme Commander replay where I finally won a game. Yay for me. And I like to think I won it in style. I didn't feel threatened all game. I had the benefit, as I mentioned earlier on, that Lofty was on one of my flanks, so I could focus very much on another. But I had the benefit of also having a fantastic production queue and being aggressive with it to stop Mike from being able to build up. I kept that pressure on Mike so he couldn't really threaten me. Midge could have done so, but he was locked here. If he'd threatened Alex earlier, then we would probably have fought each other a lot before Lofty nuked the ashes of the victor and took the crown. But as it was, by the time he walked into Alex's base, I was already walking into Lofty's, and it was fairly quick for me because I didn't depend on amassing my units. I had a production queue so I could replace them as they went, whereas we saw Midge not able to replace those units quite as quickly. So that's what it comes down to in a war of attrition, really. I suppose being able to throw more meat into the grinder. But when your meat is also... Where are they? Where are my boys? The MVPs. These bad boys. Look at that. Isn't that a sight to behold? Lovely. Just have it in full glory here. These bad boys. 153 kills. Regenerate hit points even as we speak. They are fantastic bits of command and killing goodness. And how many do I have by the end of the game on the map at once? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out and about, and I've got others under construction. Well, I should have others under construction, but I don't. That's a shameful boast. Anyway, yeah, really I was just producing things all the time, land and sea. My air was light, but I didn't need it because no one tried to push it. Mike was swinging into it, but it was too little too late, and no one took advantage of that hole, even with the fighter bombers there from Alex and Midge. Yeah, a really good game, very fun. I enjoyed commentating on it, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. So, if you want any others, let me know what game you like to play. I am Big Bad Chad. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day you're viewing this, and tune in for the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, suggest games you want to see us play, want to see me play. I'll do them. I might not be very good, but I'm happy to look like shit, as you've seen from some of my Supreme Commander play. Not this time, though! Booyah!